This story will cover from then to now and next, all about change, how to turn losers into winners. This is not what you would normally call a natural history film, though it could turn out to be an extreme form of the nature of humans and their impact on their habitat. In fact, that impact reaches right around the planet and so far supports this place of amazing contrasts and extremes. As a biologist, I will apply the circumstances that enable natural organisms to exist and to continue sustainably. In the case of Dubai, it may not. Famous for a rather different kind of wildlife, today its future may be in doubt, and only time will tell. Around the world are mysterious ruins from civilizations of the past, like Stonehenge in England, where sun worship continues today. Machu Picchu in Peru, another lost city. Easter Island in the Pacific, where they probably exhausted their natural resources. And Detroit, once a thriving car-making city in the US, now a modern ghost city. And Las Vegas, like Dubai, a desert city, apparently with no restraints. But is it sustainable? The same question applies to Dubai. In 1833, the Al Maktoum tribe settled at the mouth of Dubai Creek. Since that time, and driven by the ambitions of the Maktoum sheiks that followed, this community grew to become the amazing modern Dubai. From boat builders who lived in the thatched houses by the creek to a skyline like no other. Now modern tourists can stay in extraordinary seven they say, star hotels and visit displays of the past, including wind towers, the original air conditioners. But Dubai's history has been a roller coaster with some major shocks along the way, and there may be more to come from unsuspected directions. Gulls have always adapted to changes, feeding here on chips, and they will turn up again in our question, is Dubai doomed? The nature of man is part of the answer. Later the creek was to be dredged, enabling trade to expand far and wide. What had been a small settlement of fishermen and smugglers was growing fast, reaping the benefits of all sorts of goods. Pearl diving was big business, and slaves had to endure diving with only a nose clip to cope with the stressful activity collecting oysters, which just might contain a pearl. So-called slaves came to the Dubai area much later, not to dive but to build. In the meantime, in the 1930s, the Japanese had developed cultured pearls, and Dubai's business collapsed, a big down on Dubai's roller coaster. But things started to pick up when tourism got going. Gulls flew into the new deeper creek to join the tourists, and overhead Emirates Airlines brought more and more visitors in search of sun, sea and shopping. Easily accessible from Europe and many other countries today, Emirates is a major part of Dubai's unbelievably rapid progress. But there has been a human cost to pay by an army of labourers from India, Bangladesh, Nepal and Sri Lanka into this region.
Arriving in Dubai, cabin crew will now pass through the cabin to collect the blankets and shortly be inside. Thank you.
built the currently world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa. This is certainly a city of contrast, where cars dominate, especially expensive ones. Because money for a Ferrari and some of the cheapest petrol in the world makes road transport both glamorous and abundant, two words Dubai loves. Oil was discovered in 1966, but didn't last very long at this rate. Up and down, red to green. Dubai's projects are like that, but there is a big red light in the sky that is perhaps a warning of danger to come. At present, it seems that there is limitless desert outside Dubai, and a number of massive projects in the region appear to be in the pipeline, though whether oil will be crucial remains to be seen. These new huge cliffs of glass and concrete are home to a few species of birds, like pigeons descended from rock doves and miners brought in from India, like the workers, who share their home briefly. The famous Burj Khalifa has 24,438 windows, more than 160 stories, and is 2,716 feet tall. Still the world's tallest building, but Saudi Arabia is building even bigger one, the height of vanity, some say. The top half of these super tall buildings is effectively empty. Donald Trump, global developer, said, "It's an incredible place. The stuff they're doing is amazing. They're limited purely by their imagination and the laws of physics. It's an area that's growing rapidly, and it's where we want to be." But will he? Some of the biggest projects take the longest time, particularly when you're building islands in the sea, and it turns out dredged sand doesn't always make the best foundations, to begin with anyway. So from smugglers and fishermen by the creek to window cleaners on a glass cliff, Dubai has rushed on. It really believes if you build it, they will come. Or will they? For now, the Chinese certainly will. Their middle class are serious shoppers, and the many malls of Dubai are a consumer's paradise, where all sorts of international brands are represented. Most of it is imported by air and sea, so airports and seaports have become enormous. That means there is a growing environmental cost to your favourite handbag, car or designer dress. Amongst all this consumption are sharks, the fishy sort. It's a density unreal off Dubai's altered coast. You can even walk under them. And then to the zoo to meet an otter. Or a penguin, a privileged view in the desert of Dubai. So it's on to the next mall, past the fancy cars, the many cement mixers, and the extreme hotels they build with that foreign help, to the Mall of the Emirates, to be joined TBA, to be arranged one day, by the Mall of Arabia, with 1,000 retail outlets. The Pope, no less, has referred to an idol called money, and the throwaway culture, which he disapproves. And of course you can ski here. It's Dubai, where summer temperatures reach the mid-40s outside. To achieve this, a vast amount of energy is needed. Our magic planet would need the resources of several planet Earths to be sustainable, and that includes the food for a growing human population. Keeping tourists cool is important for business. In the old days, wind towers did the job, and the wind and palm trees for shade were free. At the cruise ship, old and new mix, traditional falconry and tourist cameras and money, a mobile phone, and a typical tourist trip into a changing world. Once home to Bedouins, their tents and their camels, this is a new oil-rich United Arab Emirates, UAE, of which Dubai is a major member. Natural resources, be they oil or fish, are key to the future of UAE and how the 7 different states exploit them. Crabs, cuttlefish, prawns are only part of the region's varied food supply. Fish are a vital food for the locals, though. As more and more of the seas are overfished by massive trawlers, the future supply, as with all food, globally, could be at risk. Tuna. As local demand increases with the local population and more tourists come to shop and to sunbathe, the pressure will be on to buy land abroad, grow food there, and to import it. That's called air miles, and it is. Ships too. The tourists get brief views of the new and old. Energy is crucial to progress. So it is with their cruise ship, needing food, water, waste facilities, and, hopefully, sunshine. Just like a living organism, in fact. Like Dubai, in fact. But how does it stack up in its meteoric rise? Residents of Dubai consume more water and electricity per capita than nearly anyone on the planet. This is the old style, cow power, for the tourists these days. Where too much water is taken, palms die as seawater invades underground. Energy from oil, food, and our modern world are now linked to the influence of something that could change Dubai's future completely. As well as attracting sun seekers to Dubai, it is now increasingly changing the whole planet, and that includes China, a major trader with the UAE. We're all in this together, the bus that is, but where to? The cruise ship, the container vessels, and much else are heading for the vital sea route of the Straits of Hormuz. Oil, what a bus burns as diesel and emits something that can kill. It's all here in this dock. Big oil, cars, oil trucks, shipping. But far from being a golden blessing, oil is turning out to be a golden curse. Now those with fossil fuels money may have to leave the stuff in the ground as the risks of burning it are revealed. Birds like terns and gulls use their own fuel to migrate thousands of miles across the ocean. When ships do that, the oil they use turns dangerous, and the climate starts to change with CO2 emissions. Global warming is caused by our behaviour, and sea levels may rise. That's not good news for Dubai, is it? They say if you've got it, a truck brought it. Even if it's your new car all the way from Japan. And with it come problems that it seems the planet pays for. And so did people of Dubai. So far they'd had it pretty good. Pearls crashed, but tourism improved. Oil declined, but trade and real estate picked up. Then the roller coaster really dipped. The credit crunch. Money poured out of the banks. Its excess suddenly looked excessive. 177 new planes were on hold. There had been 6 years of wild growth. Size quadrupled, population doubled. Dubai had come a long way since the Al Maktoum tribe settled at the pearling village on the creek. Sheikh Mohammed now says, "We were in a race against time and we won. But as I have always said, the race has only just begun. With these achievements comes new hurdles, responsibilities and challenges. The Dubai Strategic Plan systematically addresses these until the year 2015. As the banks were emptied, Dubai's busy roads were even busier. Expatriates especially simply drove for it. Apparently, quoting a visiting actress, "I saw an astonishing sight. A load of Ferraris and others had just been dumped at the airport with the keys still in the ignition. I was told that things were so bad there financially that people leaving the country just dumped their sports cars at the airport for the finance companies to collect." Bye-bye, Dubai. Dubai was really feeling the heat, and the air-conditioned bus shelters didn't help at this time. And more problems to come, this time environmental ones. Time for a clean-up. Right men for the job? From gulls' droppings to provide green spaces amongst the canyons of ever more skyscraping Dubai. The authorities now, and British royalty back in 1979, recognised the importance of Dubai as a healthy, clean place to build and to live. In the future, in 2020 to be exact, Dubai has won the honour of being selected for Expo 2020 and expects thousands to fly in from all over the world. In effect, their host will be the all-powerful ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed. What he says goes, usually outwards and upwards, whatever the cost. In fact, all the United Arab Emirates are busy expanding, but their priorities vary. But ever since that fierce ambition started at the village, then with the dredging of the creek, Dubai has moved powerfully forward from smuggling to tourism. But can the men in charge cope? From Sheikh Mohammed, I quote, "In the past I told you we would succeed, and we did. And today I tell you that I see further success in the future. We will write new pages in our nation's epic of glory, pride and achievement. We will inspire our nation, and we will set the example." Certainly the bins were prettier. Wildlife is safer, but there are bigger, invisible threats. So far. That includes this sort of thing. The Middle East is one of the most unstable regions in the world. That's why the French Navy is here, at Abu Dhabi. So rich in oil that it helped neighbouring Dubai out when its money crashed. Dubai has used up most of its oil and now depends on tourism and real estate. Abu Dhabi is still building pipelines. In fact, with apparently endless fossil fuels and massive modern equipment, these states can create new land and build on it. It seems limitless, but there could be a snag. That oil that might be fought over is still adding to the atmosphere, and now that connects to the ocean below. However great, rich and powerful the state of Dubai may think it isn't. It faces challenges that are now global, which could flood the place. It's so low-lying, with sea level rise due to melting ice at the poles increasing every year. As the planet heats up due to human activity, the effects are plain for scientists to measure. Dubai is on the list. With its expensive islands and vulnerable city, it's to be expected. Perhaps not in Dubai though. They carry on regardless in an endless building boom on the backs of, some say, slave labour. And boom can lead to doom. With the flooding comes the heat, where it's too hot to go outside. They talk about air conditioning whole islands and cooling the beaches and swimming pools. The probable result, collapse of tourism and mass departure, as climate change refugees leave, abandoning that ghost city that many are now predicting. Modern monuments to recklessness, like Easter Island statues were. Dubai depends on tourism and business, and both are currently threatened. The reputation of Emirates Airlines has suffered because this global hub of Dubai is where many passengers now miss their connecting flights. And this didn't help. And the towering Inferno disaster did little to enhance its property values, which have been dropping steadily. Testing those huge investments. Even the notorious Donald Trump backed off at one point. All of this scared the potential market, and it was starting to look like the famous 2009 crash all over again. A lonely, inhabited island, but what of the rest? Deserted islands. Tourists and investors, please note. They say if you can build it, they will come. But will they? And will the terrorists too, even on a ship like this? But especially, will going greener make a real difference? Watch part 2 for an updated update.